Hello, and welcome to Yammer Governance in Microsoft 365 World. My name is Adam Peretz, and in this session, my colleague Salil and I will be telling you about some of the newest compliance-related features available to Yammer and how you can leverage them to keep your Yammer network safe. Before we start talking about governance and compliance, let's talk a little bit about Yammer. We've rebuilt Yammer from the ground up with dozens of innovations and integrations across Microsoft 365. You can use Yammer to create and drive culture that aligns employees to the vision and mission of the organization. Yammer enables leaders to connect with their teams and steer the organization during times of change, and to quickly adapt to internal and external factors. This helps companies stay nimble and resilient, keep their businesses competitive, and ensure their employees' safety. In today's age of rapid change, being able to transform the way a company works to meet market needs is paramount, and Yammer provides the tools you need to drive organizational change at all levels. Yammer enables you to use communities and conversations to share information across boundaries and to engage people. Yammer helps organizations harness the collective knowledge of their employee base by connecting people to share best practices, ask questions, and get answers from experts. In communities, employees can work together to find solutions, crowdsource ideas, and drive innovation, while also giving everyone an opportunity to contribute. These scenarios and outcomes require connecting people beyond their work groups, fostering relationships and conversations across teams, departments, and organizational silos. That is why communities matter. Whether you're looking at small communities that connect people with common interests and experience, communities of practice where experts can exchange ideas, communities that enable a work group to engage people from outside their team, or even larger communities that connect departments, divisions, and organizations to communicate and engage at scale, all of your communities have the potential to impact productivity and engagement of your employees. However, all of these Yammer benefits are somewhat muted if Yammer exists in a silo, disconnected from the rest of your productivity tools. That's why the future of Yammer revolves around being fully integrated into Microsoft 365 and ensuring that we maintain our customer trust through enterprise-grade security, compliance, and management functionality. You probably already know that other Microsoft products such as Teams, SharePoint, and Outlook all share a common set of compliance features available through the Compliance Center. Today, I'm going to be telling you about how you can start using some of those same features within your Yammer network. Microsoft offers a wide range of security and compliance features that administrators can use to protect your data. These services include industry-leading protection for your information, intuitive and advanced controls to more easily manage that information, insights and intelligence to keep you in the know, and constantly evolving compliance features to help you meet your compliance obligations. Historically, Yammer has been excluded from all of these features, and we've heard time and time again, if Microsoft gives me these compliance features for all of my other communication tools, why don't we have them for Yammer? Well, we've been listening, and we're excited to announce that the first wave of these features was made available early this year, and you can start using them right away. Now let's dive in. In today's session, we're going to let you know about a few of the critical regulations that Yammer is compliant with. Then we'll talk about native mode, its benefits, and how you can align your network to the new standard. Once you know about native mode, we'll discuss the new structure of guest access and external collaboration within Yammer through Azure B2B Guests. And then finally, we'll talk about 3 important features in the Compliance Center, which you can now use with Yammer, specifically communication compliance, eDiscovery, and data retention. Yammer has a long list of regulatory and compliance certifications. On the screen, you can see some of the items we get asked about most often, and you can rest assured that Yammer is capable of complying with these and many more. If compliance and governance for your Yammer network is important to your organization, you'll want to make sure that your network is in native mode as soon as possible. Native mode for Yammer provides numerous benefits, but arguably the most important benefit is that native mode gives you access to Yammer content within the Microsoft Compliance Center. Currently, Yammer is fully integrated into the eDiscovery and communication compliance platforms, and in the near future, it'll also be available when defining data retention policies within the information governance module. The benefits that IT admins will see from native mode focus around 3 main areas: efficiency, compliance, and file management. Increased efficiency can be achieved by managing all of your Yammer communities and users the same way you would manage groups and users for any other part of the Microsoft 365 suite. Additional compliance features become available through the Compliance Center, and file management is enhanced and simplified by placing all files uploaded to Yammer into SharePoint. Keep in mind that end users will also benefit from native mode. Using Yammer in native mode provides a consistent experience across all your Yammer communities, including the ability to host live events in any community that you might be a part of. Native mode also allows users for richer integrations with both Teams and SharePoint, which provide additional functionality that users have been asking for. But what is native mode? Essentially, native mode realigns the back-end architecture of your Yammer network to better match the rest of the Microsoft 365 suite. By ensuring that every Yammer user is tied to an Azure Active Directory account, every Yammer community is tied to a Microsoft 365 group, and every file uploaded to Yammer goes to a SharePoint site associated with those groups, we are now able to offer your Yammer network much of the functionality available to the rest of your Microsoft products through the Compliance Center. It's important to note that if your Yammer network was provisioned after January 16th, 2020, then your network is already in native mode by default. For any customer with a network provisioned prior to this, you will have the option to align your network to native mode using the native mode alignment tool available in the network admin pages. As much as we love telling people about how great native mode is, we realize you might want to hear from some customers who have chosen to opt into native mode. Here on the screen are some quotes from Progressive Insurance and EY discussing why they chose to be among the first customers to align their existing networks to native mode and what that process looked like for them. Now that you've seen some of the benefits of native mode, you may be asking yourself, how can I get my network into native mode? Well, on the screen, you can see the home page of the standard Yammer network. Any network admin can access this settings gear and access the network admin pages. Navigating to the network admin pages, you can then go to the M365 native mode settings page, which brings you to the native mode alignment tool that I was speaking about earlier. There's a couple things you're going to want to do at this page right at the start. The first thing is check these sections here saying consolidate multiple networks and enforce Microsoft 365 identity. If you see anything other than the congratulations text shown here, it means that you have a couple prerequisite steps that you need to take before you can start going through this alignment tool. First, in the consolidate multiple networks stage, if you don't see a congratulations message, that means that your network has more than one Yammer network associated with your Microsoft tenant. If that's the case, you'll see a link to additional documentation which will show you how to consolidate those networks. In section 2, where it says enforce Microsoft 365 identity, if you don't see the congratulations text here, it means that your Yammer network is not configured to enforce Microsoft 365 identity. This is a pretty easy switch that you can flip in the settings if you have access. Again, if you need to do it, the text here will provide a link to additional documentation. Once those two prerequisite steps are taken care of, the next thing you'll want to do is generate the alignment report. The alignment report will give you a lot of data about your network, including a list of every single user and group that you have. It'll give you a lot of metadata, such as what's shown here on the screen, so that you know what changes need to be made to each of those groups and all of the users in order to get those groups and users into a compliant state for native mode. Once you've finished analyzing your alignment report, you'll want to scroll to the very bottom of the screen and click Continue. Clicking Continue will bring you to the authorization form shown here. It's important that you read this authorization form carefully before authorizing it, because this is going to tell you exactly what changes the system will make to your network. And once you click Authorize by entering in your username and UPN at the bottom of the screen as shown here, clicking Authorize will actually start the alignment tool and begin making irreversible changes to your network. Now let's talk a little bit about native mode availability. The native mode alignment tool is currently only available to customers with fewer than 75,000 users and files. However, any customer with greater than 100,000 users or files is invited to schedule a network alignment by opening a Premier support case or by emailing yammernativemode@microsoft.com. Scheduling an alignment through this process means you'll get to work directly with Yammer product and engineering teams to build a customized migration plan and work through any issues that you may encounter along the way. As we mentioned before, when a network is aligned to native mode, every single user must be reflected in Azure Active Directory. And as you may be aware, this is not compatible with how Yammer currently handles guest users and external collaboration. In order to allow guest users in Yammer networks that are in native mode, and also to better align the guest access framework within Yammer to what's available in the rest of the M365 suite, we're excited to introduce Azure B2B Guest Access for Yammer. Converting your Yammer network to use Azure B2B Guests offers a wide variety of benefits shown here. For additional information, or to sign up for preview access to this brand new feature, visit the link shown on the screen. Next, I'll pass the mic to my colleague Salil, who will give a demo of how Azure B2B Guest Platform works within Yammer.
We are excited to demo the new B2B guests in Yammer. First, let's see how community owners can invite guests. Megan owns a community for AI enthusiasts. She just needs to add the guest email in the member list, This two-click guest invite process is very similar to how she adds regular members. And presto, the guest is added. Let's look at the new guest experience. The guest receives an invite email to join the community. Once inside, the guest can access all community resources on SharePoint. Guests can also create content like files, posts, and comments. The new mobile experience is optimized for frontline workers. We've simplified the guest lifecycle from invitation alerts to redemption and community participation on the apps. The apps are loaded with all the latest guest features available on the web. To recap, you've seen how we fully revamped the front-end and back-end for Yammer guests. This review is now live. Thanks for watching.
Now that we've learned about native mode and Azure B2B guest access, let's learn about the first of three compliance topics for today's session, communication compliance. Communication compliance in Microsoft 365 helps minimize communication risks by helping you detect, capture, and act on inappropriate messages in your organization. Predefined and custom policies allow you to scan internal and external communications for policy matches so that they can be examined by designated reviewers. Reviewers can then investigate scanned email, Microsoft Teams, Yammer, or third-party communications in your organization and take appropriate remediation actions to make sure they're compliant with your organization's messaging standards. To leverage communication compliance in your Yammer network, you'll first need to enable auditing in Microsoft 365 and make sure that your Yammer network is in native mode. Next, you'll want to set up a group for in-scope users. To do this, create a new group by accessing the Microsoft Admin Center at admin.microsoft.com, then navigating to the Groups page. Once the new group is created, all of the users of your network, which you want to have in scope for the communication compliance policies, will need to be added to the group. Once the users have been defined, next you'll want to create a policy. Policies can be created to monitor for offensive language, sensitive information, or regulatory compliance. Choose the type of policy you want to create and click on the Get Started link on the Communication Compliance home screen within the Compliance Center. This will bring up the policy template wizard. In this example, we're showing the wizard to monitor for offensive language. You'll need to add the group you just created to this section, Users or Groups to Supervise, and then list out the reviewers who should have access to the review information flagged by the system. Once the policy is active, all that's left is for the reviewers to take a look at the alert dashboard to review any communications which were flagged by the system and then take appropriate action on those communications. Communication compliance is a great way to flag content that might be offensive or inappropriate in your workplace, but sometimes you need to take things a step further and open a full investigation into activities within your network. To assist with that investigation process, the Microsoft Compliance Center provides the eDiscovery platform. We're excited to announce that Yammer content for all networks in native mode is now eDiscoverable in the Microsoft Compliance Center. Let's take a look at how this works in action. In this demo, I'll be showing you the advanced eDiscovery module and how it can be used to search for Yammer content, either on its own or alongside information from the rest of the M365 suite. Here you can see the advanced eDiscovery dashboard, which shows an overview of all ongoing cases that you have access to. It's important to note that this feature can only be accessed by users who have the correct security roles assigned. Let's take a look at the case named Yammer eDiscovery demo. Clicking on the case name brings you to the home screen for that case, where you can see a quick overview of the custodians, communications, and recent jobs associated with the case. The first thing you'll do in creating a case will be to assign the data sources. Clicking on the Sources tab, you'll notice that a source can either be a custodian or a data location. As custodians are far more configurable, we'll focus our attention there. To start, let's click on the Add Custodians button. First, you'll need to search for a custodian in your network. Here, we'll search for Alex Wilwer. Once Alex has been selected, you'll have the opportunity to confirm their custodial locations. Custodial locations are locations that the system already knows are links to that user, such as their Exchange mailbox and personal OneDrive. Next, we'll have the opportunity to select additional locations to include in any assertions performed on this user. Clicking on Add will show you that you can choose to add sources from Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, or Yammer. Because this demo is focused on Yammer, let's see how we can add Yammer communities that Alex is a member of. Clicking on Choose Yammer will show us a list of locations that are already associated with this custodian. Because we haven't selected any yet, the list is empty. If we click on Choose Yammer again, it'll show us all of the communities in Yammer that this user is a member of. Let's go ahead and add Safety and Parents of Contoso to this custodian. We can see that this site updates to show the locations that are associated with the custodian. Once we save all of these locations, we're given the opportunity to place the custodian on hold. Doing so will ensure that none of the content associated with this custodian gets deleted so long as the hold remains in place. Now that you've seen how to create a custodian, let's see how to generate a search query. Navigating to the Searches tab and clicking on the New Search button will allow us to create a new search. First, let's give the search a name such as Yammer eDiscovery Demo. From the Custodian and Data Sources tab, we're able to choose which locations will be part of the search query. Clicking on Choose Custodian Mailbox OneDrive will show you a list of all of the custodians that have been established for this case and allow you to include the ones you need. You can also do the same for any additional data locations that you may have established. For now, let's select all of the custodians available and add them to the search. If we wanted to include additional locations beyond those configured for our custodian, we could do so on the Additional Locations tab. For example, if we wanted to include all the conversations in a public Yammer community which Alex isn't a member of, we could do that through the Choose Users, Groups, or Teams link here. Let's perform a search for Contoso Canada. Contoso Canada is a public group within the Yammer network that Alex is not a member of. Here we see the mailbox associated with the Contoso Canada group, and if we add it here, it'll be designated as part of the search. Next, we want to set up the actual search query. What information from the previously configured data sources do we actually want to review? There are a wide variety of conditions that you can use to filter down to just the data you want to review. Maybe that includes specific keywords, a specific date range, or message type. If we wanted to limit the data returned to only show Yammer messages, we would use the type condition. Selecting the type condition, you can see that you have the option to narrow your search results down to just so email messages, documents, instant messages, office roaming service, or Yammer messages. You also have the option to expand the add or remove more options to see all of the different types that are possible for selection. If we select Yammer messages here, the only content we're going to see back is Yammer messages. Next, you have the opportunity to review your search and start the search so that the system begins processing the data. Once the search is complete, you can review the search statistics, preview the results, add the results to a review set for further analysis, or edit the search to be run again. Let's take a look at what the search results look like in a review set. First, we'll look at the Yammer-only search results to see how Yammer messages are returned in these searches. Clicking here, we can see that the system returns the content in a way very similar to what a user would see in the front end. It also finds all of the replies associated with the post so that you can see the entire context of the conversation. You'll also notice that we add in graphics to show the different message types such as questions. Let's go back to our review sets and see what happens when we don't just filter for Yammer. Here you can see all of the different content that matched any of the search criteria that was not limited to a specific result type. This will let you see all of the same information that returned in the Yammer-only search, but now it's in the context of everything else in the rest of the system. Finally, once you're done tagging and reviewing the information in the review set, you can use the Action tab to convert all of the redacted files to PDF so that they can be shared in any investigations that you may have. We've now seen how you can run automated compliance policies on the data in your network and how you can search for the data in your network using eDiscovery. The final piece of the puzzle is determining how long the data actually remains in your network so that these various services can act upon it. Maybe your organization sits in an industry where you're legally mandated to retain all information for a specified time frame. On the other hand, maybe you want to ensure that old content is automatically removed from your network to prevent confusion and mitigate the risks of storing user data. The data retention policies available in the Information Governance module of the Compliance Center allow you to do all this and more. Data retention policies for Yammer are expected to be available in early 2021. As you can see here, we're currently making changes to the location selection screen within the data retention policy definition page, which allow you to select Yammer communities or users. This will allow you to configure both minimum and maximum retention policies for content in Yammer, the same way you can for any other content available to the Information Governance module in the Compliance Center. A minimum retention policy will ensure that none of your content gets deleted until the specified timeframe has passed, while a maximum retention policy will ensure that old data in your network gets cleaned up automatically once a specified amount of time has passed. These retention policies can be a great tool to ensure that your network is compliant with any retention regulations in your industry or to help mitigate the risk associated with storage of corporate data. We hope that you've enjoyed this presentation on Yammer governance in a Microsoft 365 world. Additional information on this and many more topics can be found in our documentation at docs.microsoft.com.